Hi everybody. I wanted to do a video blog rather than typing out my story. I've got so much to tell and so much to share that I wanted to get it out in a video where you can actually hear the story coming from me rather than reading it. Makes it a little more personal, I guess. I don't know. But if you like this format where I'm doing the videos, please comment and let me know, because I can continue to do the videos. That's no problem. And I do also ask, if you would, to please share this video, this status on Facebook. Please get this out to as many people as you can, because this journey is something that I think not very many people know about. This antisynthetase syndrome is something that's rare, and in my journey of trying to figure out my future and reading about this and trying to figure out what I can expect in the future, there's very little information out there. So sharing my story might be able to help somebody in the future, at least to get a diagnosis or something of that nature. So please, if you would, share this to anybody that you can. And I thank you for that. So just to kind of continue my previous blog story, my journey is from February of 2014, when I was discharged from the hospital. I, again, had the atypical pneumonia, was sent home on the oxygen and taking prednisone. I was taking 40 milligrams per day of prednisone and was on, I think, maybe 3 or 4 liters of oxygen during the day and night, 24 hours a day. And so I was sent home to, recuperate, and then eventually to go back to work, because I thought, well, I'm going to recover, so wonderful, which I did. I recovered enough that I could go back to work, and went back to work on the oxygen still and on the prednisone, still going to my pulmonologist appointments and all of that. I was eventually weaned off of the prednisone and the oxygen because I kept getting better and better and better, which I thought, hey, that's great. I was in the hospital and now I'm getting better, and life is going to be great. So eventually the lung doctor released me and took me off of everything. So they picked up the oxygen, took it away, and I thought, I'm done with it, no more. So fast forward then to May of 2014, Memorial Weekend. My cousin and her family invited us to go camping with them in southern Missouri. And for those of you that are familiar with Missouri, the weather, especially in the springtime, is pretty unpredictable, to say the least. So we went camping, and it was typical May. It was warm during the day, and then at night it was getting cooler. It rained some of the time we were there, and it was warm some of the time that we were there. But when it was wet, it was kind of cool and soggy and damp. And I thought, after, hindsight's 2020, and we kind of thought after the camping trip, maybe that wasn't a good idea. Somebody that just had a lung issue in the hospital to go camping in a cool, damp environment. But anyway, we did. Had a great time, and came home. Well, a couple of weeks later, I started noticing that same walk from my car to my desk was becoming difficult again. I was becoming out of breath, and I was feeling like I was expelling so much energy just going that short distance. I mean, it's like 100 yards from my car to my desk. It's not that far. It's something that shouldn't wear a person out or make them out of breath, just kind of strolling along. So I decided one morning that it would be a good idea for me to go back to the hospital, because it was to the point that I'm having a difficult time even carrying on a conversation, walking at that point from my car to my desk. So I left work one morning and went to the hospital. I went to the emergency room because I thought, I can't breathe well, and this is an emergency. So I went there. They hooked me up to everything. I was put on oxygen. I was hooked up to IVs and heart monitors and everything. And Eventually, through the chest x-ray that they took, they said, hey, guess what? The pneumonia's back, and we would like to admit you for observation, for treatment. Your pulmonologist is going to want to run some more tests and see if they can figure out why this keeps coming back. So that's what they did. They admitted me to the hospital. I really didn't have a choice. So I went into the hospital, and the lung doctor came in, and she said, I would like to not only do some blood work and all of that, but I would like to do a bronchoscopy. I had heard that term before because I had had one of those back in 1996 with a similar type of lung issue. A bronchoscopy, if you're not familiar with that, is not a pleasant experience. There are worse things that you can go through, but it certainly is not a pleasant experience because they don't put you out for that. You're actually awake, and they want you to cough and to interact with them while they're inside of your lungs. What they do is they take a scope that's about as big as an ink pen, and they insert it into your nose, and it goes down the back of your throat, down into your chest, and into your lungs. And at the tip of that scope is a camera where they can basically look around in your lungs and look at the tissue and see what it looks like. They can also, with little tweezers at the end of the scope, they can pinch little pieces of lung tissue to pull out and do biopsies on, which is wonderful. And also, they can inject fluid into your lungs, again, while you're awake, inject fluid into your lungs, which kind of washes the area a little, and then they suck that liquid back up through that scope where they can then look at it under a microscope, which will give them, I guess, answers to questions that they may have about you. So they did all of that, and it wasn't actually as bad as I had remembered it to be. So maybe technology had advanced enough in those 18 years to make it better. But anyway, so I had the bronchoscopy. Everything came back pretty much normal. It came back that I did still have the atypical pneumonia, and that the course of treatment was going to be just what it was before when I was in the hospital. And I thought, okay, I don't really want to go through all of that prednisone again. It causes me to gain weight. I can't sleep. I have mood swings. I eat all the time because I'm hungry. There's just so many different side effects. I didn't want to go through all of that again. But we're talking about your lungs, and you kind of need those to survive. And that was really the only option they were giving me as far as treatment. So I said, okay, we'll do it again. So after a week in the hospital, they sent me home on the oxygen again and on the prednisone. And that's pretty much what I did. So I was out of work that time for a week as well. Or for 2 weeks, a week in the hospital and then a week home recuperating. Eventually went back to work on the oxygen and went to the pulmonologist, had several chest x-rays done. I was getting better. Does this all sound familiar? Because I keep telling the same story because it just kept happening over and over again. Went through everything that I went through before, and I was getting better. And my doctor eventually said, you're good enough that you don't have to be on the prednisone anymore. However, I would like for you to remain on the oxygen just at night. You don't have to do it during the day, but at night, you need to have it. And I said, okay, I'll do that. So I stayed on the oxygen at night and was able to go off of it during the day, which was wonderful because it's kind of embarrassing, again, to walk around being a younger looking person and be on oxygen and people staring and making comments and all of that. So it kind of sucked because I had to skip my family reunion that year due to the humidity. It was outside, and people with lung issues, it's hard to breathe sometimes when it's really humid. So I had to start making adjustments to my life at that point. And, little did I know how much I would have to adjust my life in the future. I do have to comment that up until just probably 8 months ago, I was a smoker. I smoked up to a pack a day for many, many, many years. And unfortunately, I didn't really quit during all of this. So, here I am with pneumonia. I would get out of the hospital, I would go home and start to feel better, and I would start smoking again. I know it's stupid, but that's what I did. I wanted to share that part too because, obviously smoking is bad for you, and you should not do that when you have pneumonia. I never smoked with the oxygen on, I can assure you that. I'm not that stupid, but I am stupid to continue smoking after I've had pneumonia twice. So anyway, I went through this cycle of getting better and then getting worse and getting better and getting worse 3 times last year. So that was in June, and 4 months later, I started to feel worse again. Like Groundhog's Day, same thing. The walk from my car to my desk at work started to get a little bit more, it started to get harder. I was exhausted by the time I got to my desk. In the morning, at 8 o'clock in the morning, I was exhausted. And the only thing I had done was get up, take a shower, have some breakfast, drive to work. And I was exhausted. All I wanted to do was go back home and go to sleep. So eventually, in October, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go back to the hospital again because I'm getting worse, and I think this pneumonia is back again. So that's what I did. I went back to the hospital again in October. I'm going to go ahead and stop this video now, and we'll pick it up another time and start my journey again in October from the time that I went back to the hospital for the 3rd time that year to where I had a different diagnosis. So please subscribe to my blog where you can come back and check on updates, because I will be updating again my journey up until now, up to present, and then I'll continue to update it as time goes along and as I have more tests and more everything done. Again, this is all in hopes that I can help somebody. There's so little information out there about this autoimmune disease that I think any information that can help someone is wonderful. So please share this video. If you see this on Facebook, please like it and share it. And then subscribe to my blog, subscribe on YouTube, however you need to. But please help me get this word out about this disease. So again, thank you so much for supporting me and watching this, and I just thank you. So have a wonderful day, and I look forward to future posts. Have a wonderful day.